I never thought a late-night trip to Kroger would leave my heart pounding against the walls of a stockroom, lips pressed to someone else's, while footsteps echoed just feet away. But that's exactly what happened, and I can still feel the press of his body against mine, the urgency in his grip, and the way he made me forget the whole damn world for a few stolen minutes. It all started just before closing time, my favorite hour, when the aisles are mostly empty, the store is quiet, and the world feels like it belongs only to me. I parked my car under the flickering street lamp, the only one in a row of dim yellow lights still buzzing. I stepped into the automatic doors, cool air hitting my skin like a whisper, and grabbed a basket I didn't really need. I only came for oat milk and cereal, but I liked having something to hold, just in case. The soft hum of distant pop music floated through the store, mixing with the rolling wheels of a janitor's cart and the occasional overhead announcement. The familiar stillness wrapped around me like a comfort blanket, and I let my mind wander while strolling past the refrigerated section. That's when I saw him. He was crouched near the produce, arms flexing under the weight of a box of bananas, his black Kroger polo clinging just right to his back. He stood, turned, and I swear my breath caught. He had one of those faces that felt like it had been drawn from your best dream. Sharp jaw, kind eyes, a little smirk like he was always mid-joke. His name tag read, Eli. And when he saw me, his brows lifted just slightly, as if he'd been expecting me. I froze. I've never been the type to approach a guy, especially not one who looked like he'd stepped out of a catalog for dream grocery store employee. But something about the look in his eyes made it impossible not to say something. My mouth moved before my brain could argue. You always handle your bananas that gently? His smirk widened into a grin. Only when someone's watching. Oh, he was like that. I laughed, instantly flushed. Sorry, that sounded way better in my head. No, it sounded pretty damn good out loud, he said, brushing off his hands on his pants as he stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell him, something clean, something warm. He didn't step into my space, he invited me into his. It was like he'd cracked open a door I didn't know I was allowed to walk through. You shop here often this late? He asked, his tone casual, but there was heat behind it, interest, intrigue. Only when I'm hoping to run into someone who flirts while stocking fruit. He chuckled, and the sound did something to me. Low, real, like he laughed with his whole chest. Then he leaned in slightly, almost conspiratorial, and said, You want to see something cool? I blinked. Sure. He glanced over his shoulder like we were in a spy movie, then beckoned with a finger. We passed the milk coolers, slipped past the employees only sign, and my heart pounded harder with each step. I should have said no. I should have questioned it. But there was something about him that made the word yes so easy. He led me through a short hallway, lit by fluorescent buzz, past shelves of overstock, until we stepped into a small, dim storage room. Just boxes, cleaning supplies. A metal door creaked half-closed behind us. And then it changed. He turned around, his hand brushing mine, not by accident, and the silence grew thick between us. His eyes scanned my face like he was memorizing something. Then, slowly, deliberately, he placed one hand against the wall beside my head and said, You look like trouble. I swallowed hard. Maybe I am. And that's when he kissed me. It was sudden, but not rushed, like he'd been thinking about it since the moment I walked in. His lips were soft but demanding, his body pressing just enough to pin me lightly to the wall without forcing anything. I kissed back, my fingers finding his waist, his neck, the curve of his jaw, and every part of me lit up. Just outside the door, I could hear footsteps, someone pushing a cart. But inside this small room, we were in another universe. one where all that mattered was the taste of his mouth, the sound of his breathing, and the way his hand curled around the side of my face, like he'd been waiting a long time to do it. The kiss deepened, hands exploring, touches growing bolder, and the edge between restraint and hunger started to vanish. We were losing ourselves, fast, and that was only the beginning. His kiss had a heat to it that melted everything else away. Not the cold hum of the back room, not the fact we were hidden behind a stack of paper towel boxes with someone possibly walking by on the other side of that thin door. Just us, just his mouth on mine, his hands firm but tender, his breath quickening in sync with mine. I pulled back first, barely, just enough to whisper, "Is this something you do often? With strangers picking up oat milk at 11:45 p.m.? He smirked, "Only when they flirt about bananas." The mood shifted, still hot, but laced with a kind of tension I couldn't name. Was it danger, excitement, curiosity? I didn't even know this guy's last name, but the way his body pressed into mine, like he already knew how we'd fit together, made it feel like we weren't strangers at all. Eli leaned his forehead against mine for a second, catching his breath. "You're shaking." I didn't realize it until he said it. My hands were trembling just slightly against his hips, like my body had started running without asking permission from my brain. "Adrenaline," I said. "Yeah," he replied, voice low. "That, and maybe this." His hand slid under my t-shirt, palm warm against my skin, not rushing, more like exploring. It sent a current through me, a slow burn that made my knees feel unreliable. I pulled him in again, lips crashing into his, this time with no hesitation. I didn't care where we were. I didn't care what the rules were. This wasn't some hookup I planned or expected. It was a moment that had caught fire, and neither of us was putting it out. We stumbled slightly, hands gripping each other tighter, bumping into a shelf that rattled. The sound made us both freeze. Voices outside, faint, someone laughing near the bakery section. Eli looked toward the door, then back at me. "We shouldn't," he said, voice hoarse, "but we already did." He nodded slowly, eyes locked on mine like they were holding back a storm. And then, almost like a dare, he reached behind him, locked the stockroom door with a soft click, and said, "Okay, we've got 5 minutes before someone comes looking." The next kiss was different. It wasn't just want, it was need. Our mouths met again, deeper this time, our bodies locking together, as if we were trying to make up for lost time we never had. My fingers found their way into his hair, tugging gently, while his hands explored my back, my sides, pulling me tighter, like he needed to feel every inch. He lifted my shirt. I let him. My chest rose and fell with every breath as his lips moved to my neck, leaving heat in their wake. His touch wasn't rushed. It was focused, deliberate, like he knew exactly what he was doing and exactly how I wanted to be touched. And even though we were just two guys in a Kroger stockroom, the moment felt like something bigger, like it meant something, like the universe had tilted just slightly in our direction. But just as quickly, reality scratched at the edges. A loud knock on the door. "Eli, we're closing up. You good back there?" We froze, heartbeats thudding, eyes wide. "Yeah," he shouted, voice cracking slightly. "Just restocking the paper goods." Footsteps faded again. We both exhaled, then we laughed, soft, breathless, pressed together, caught between a kiss and a secret. "I should let you go," he said, brushing his hand down my chest before stepping back. "Before I actually get fired." I nodded, still buzzing. "Can I at least get your number before you disappear into the fluorescent mist?" He grinned and reached for the Sharpie clipped to his shirt. Without asking, he wrote his number directly on my forearm, just above the elbow. Then, as I stared at it, stunned and a little high on everything that just happened, He leaned in for one final kiss, slow, careful, like punctuation. "I'm off Thursday," he said. "Come back." I spent all of Wednesday thinking about that kiss, about the way Eli's lips felt on mine, how his voice dropped when he got close, and how easily we slipped into each other like we'd done it 100 times before. My arm still had his number on it. I didn't wash it off for hours. I stared at it like a promise I couldn't stop replaying. When Thursday rolled around, I didn't even try to act casual. I picked out clothes that looked effortless but weren't. My stomach buzzed like I'd had 3 coffees too many. And I didn't text first. I wanted to show up. I wanted to see his face when he saw I'd actually come back. It was 8:30 when I walked through Kroger's automatic doors. Earlier than last time, but I wasn't planning to leave at midnight. The store was half full. An old couple wandered near the deli. A group of teens hovered by the frozen pizza aisle. But I didn't see him. I roamed the aisles, trying to look like I was browsing, but I kept glancing over my shoulder, wondering if maybe I'd imagined it all. The back room, the kiss, the number on my skin. Maybe it was just one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments that disappeared as quickly as it came. And then I turned the corner by the cleaning products, and there he was, stocking the lowest shelf, arms stretched, shirt riding up just enough to show a sliver of his lower back. And like some kind of magnetic pull, he looked up at the exact second I saw him. His face lit up, not a polite smile, a grin, like he hadn't stopped thinking about it either. "I was starting to think you'd chickened out," he said as he stood, brushing his hands on his jeans. "I like to keep the suspense going," I replied, trying not to show just how hard my heart was hammering inside my chest. "You want to pretend you're here for dish soap again, or? I mean, if you're offering something better in the back." He didn't hesitate this time. He didn't glance over his shoulder. He just grabbed my hand, right there, between the bleach and the toilet paper, and pulled me toward the staff hallway. I followed without question. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead again, familiar now. My sneakers squeaked against the polished floor, but all I saw was him, broad shoulders, confident stride, the curl of excitement tightening in the air around us. We passed the same "employees only" sign, the same corner, the same door. But when he pushed it open, it wasn't rushed like before. He shut the door behind us and didn't speak. He just looked at me like I was the only thing he wanted to see that night. He stepped closer, slowly this time. He didn't touch me yet, just stared, eyes scanning every part of my face, like he was memorizing the before the after. "You've been on my mind," he said, voice lower than I remembered, like a lot. I laughed nervously, brushing my fingers along his arm. "Same. I kept wondering if I imagined you." "You didn't." He leaned in, breath warm against my mouth. "But I don't mind proving it again." His kiss was softer this time, less desperate, more deliberate, like we had time. His hand slipped behind my neck, the other finding my waist, pulling me closer until we were chest to chest. I melted into him, one hand sliding beneath the back of his shirt, fingers tracing skin I didn't know I needed to touch until now. We stayed like that for a while, kissing, exploring, teasing with fingertips and lips and slow movements. No rush this time, just heat and closeness and the silent understanding that whatever this was, it wasn't just a fluke. "I don't usually do this," I said against his mouth. "Me neither," he replied, eyes half closed. "But with you, feels like I should've." A knock on the wall, someone shouting something indistinct from the loading dock. We broke apart, breathless, and he laughed. "Wanna go somewhere we won't get interrupted?" he asked. I nodded. "Lead the way." He didn't take me home, not yet. Instead, we sat in the back of his beat-up Honda Civic under the edge of the parking lot where the store lights didn't quite reach. The windows were halfway down, letting in the warm night air, and the occasional sound of tires against asphalt. It felt weirdly perfect, like we were in our own world, orbiting just outside of everyone else's. "I was gonna ask for your number the first time I saw you," he said, pulling a crumpled receipt from his cup holder and doodling on the back of it with a pen. "You came in last week, same hoodie, same oat milk." I blinked. "Wait, you noticed me then?" He nodded, eyes still on his drawing. "You look tired, but your eyes were sharp, like you see more than you say." That hit somewhere unexpected. "And you looked like you belonged everywhere." He glanced up. "I don't, but here with you, feels like I could." It should have sounded like a line, but it didn't. It just landed, soft, honest, like the truth was something he didn't have to dress up. I watched him for a moment. How he moved, how he smiled. There was something about Eli that made everything feel immediate, present, like the rest of the world fell away when he looked at me. I leaned back in the passenger seat, arm resting on the center console. "So what now? We just keep meeting in cleaning supply aisles and flirting about bananas?" He laughed, full and open. "Unless you're into pineapples." "I'm not sure I'm emotionally ready for that kind of commitment." We fell into an easy silence. I didn't know where this was going, but I didn't need to, because right now it was enough to be in his space, to feel his hand drift over to rest on mine like it belonged there. He shifted toward me. "You want real honesty?" "Always." "I keep thinking about touching you, not just kissing, like actually learning you. Skin, breath, the way you sound when you stop thinking." That sentence, it hit different. I turned to him, jaw tight with something between desire and disbelief. "Then do it." He didn't rush. He leaned in again, this time kissing me slower, longer, lips lingering like he was savoring every second. His fingers brushed under my shirt again, exploring like he'd imagined it 100 times. I moved to straddle him, knees pressing against the car's center console, bodies tangled in the awkward tight space that somehow made it hotter. His hands roamed my back, my sides, my hips, his touch both careful and certain, like he wanted to remember every inch. His lips moved from my mouth to my jaw, my neck, the hollow just beneath my ear. Every kiss left fire in its place. I let myself get lost in it. The way our bodies moved together, the way he moaned just under his breath when I grinded against him, the way we laughed between kisses when we bumped into the glove box or knocked his gear shift. It wasn't sex, not yet, but it was intimacy, raw, charged, real. And when we finally stopped, when we sat breathless with our foreheads touching, the air thick with everything we didn't say, he whispered, "You still want to see me after this?" I kissed his cheek. I'd be crazy not to. We didn't make plans, exactly. No promises, no declarations. Just the kind of look you give someone when you know you'll see them again, even if you didn't say it out loud. The next time I came in, it wasn't late. It was Saturday afternoon, busy, loud, nowhere near the quiet magic of our first night. But I needed to see him, to know this wasn't some late-night fever dream, that it still meant something with the lights on and strangers all around. I found him restocking water bottles near the front. His hair was a little messy and his sleeves were pushed up. The moment he saw me, his face lit up like I'd flipped a switch. He didn't rush over, just smiled that small, dangerous smile and nodded for me to follow him again. Not to the back room this time. Out the side door, toward the employee lot. Broad daylight, his shift ending. And when I caught up, he just said, "Wanna grab something that's not from aisle 7? 10 minutes later, we were at a little diner a block down, sitting in a sticky booth with a shared milkshake between us. 2 straws, like we were in some cliché movie. And weirdly, I loved it. Not because it was perfect, because it was him. I don't really do this, he said, after our food came. Cheap fries and pancakes at 4 p.m. Sit across from someone and hope they like what they see outside the dark. I leaned on one elbow, watching him twirl a fry between his fingers. I liked what I saw in the dark. He smirked. Smartass. I'm serious, I said, softer. You didn't just kiss me like you wanted me. You kissed me like you knew me, like you'd been waiting. His jaw tightened just slightly. Maybe I have. I wasn't expecting that, the honesty, the weight of it. It hit deeper than any hand ever could. He changed the subject after that, asked about my job, my favorite movie, if I actually liked oat milk or if that was a personality trait. But the shift had already happened. We weren't just flirting anymore. We were starting something, even if neither of us said it. When the check came, he grabbed it before I could even reach. Don't argue, he said. You can get the next one. That's how this works, right? This? He looked right at me. Yeah, this. That night, he came over. He texted me 2 hours later. Just, I want to feel that again. You, close. By the time he knocked on my door, I was already waiting, heart in my throat. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. He walked in, dropped his keys on the table, and kissed me like he'd been holding it in all day. His hands knew where to go. My body remembered how to move with his. This time, we had space, time, privacy. We kissed through every room, kitchen, hallway, finally falling back onto my bed with that same urgent need, but none of the rush. He undressed me slowly, eyes never leaving mine, like every layer pulled away, was a new truth he wanted to learn. And when we finally had nothing between us, just skin and breath and heat, it felt like more than sex. It felt like a rival. The room was quiet except for our breathing. We lay tangled in the sheets, skin still warm, his arm slung across my chest like he'd forgotten how to let go. His fingers traced slow, idle circles just below my collarbone, and I could feel the weight of the silence between us. Not uncomfortable, but thick with everything we weren't saying yet. I turned my head slightly to look at him. His face was soft in the dim light from the hallway, his lips slightly parted, eyes half-lidded but awake. He wasn't in a rush to leave. That was new. You good? I asked, voice low. He smiled without opening his eyes. Better than good. I nodded, swallowing a lump I didn't realize had formed, because this wasn't just hookup silence. This wasn't get up and put your clothes on energy. This was stay. This was safe, and I didn't know what to do with that. He stretched, arm brushing against mine. You keep looking at me like I'm gonna vanish. Can you blame me? He turned to his side, propping himself up on one elbow. I'm here, aren't I? Yeah, I said, staring at the ceiling. Just feels unreal. He let that hang for a moment, then asked, You want this to be real? The question sliced through me, because I did, and that scared me more than I wanted to admit. Yeah, I said finally. I do. He exhaled through his nose, like he'd been waiting to hear it. Me too. A beat, then two. But real means messy, he added, voice more serious now. I work crazy shifts. I've got family stuff that's not always great. I don't always say the right things. Sometimes I shut down when I shouldn't. I rolled toward him, reached out, traced the line of his jaw. I'm not asking for perfect. That seemed to hit him. He leaned into my touch, then pressed a kiss to my palm. Good. 'Cause I don't think I'd know what to do with perfect anyway. We fell quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet, a shared one. I pulled him closer, and he tucked himself against me like we were puzzle pieces, the kind that had been rattling in the box for too long, but finally found the edge. Later, we lay side by side, still not dressed, the sheets pulled loosely around our legs. He reached for his phone, typed something, then turned the screen to show me. It was a contact saved with my name, a flame emoji, and the words, "Don't ghost this one." I laughed. "You naming me after a red flag warning?" He shrugged. "Just making sure I remember this isn't something I let slip." I reached for my own phone, saved his number under Banana Guy, and showed him. He groaned. "You're never letting that go, are you?" "Not a chance." And then we kissed again, lazy, smiling into it, like two people who knew the world might get loud again tomorrow, but for tonight, everything was just right. That night, he didn't leave, and in the morning, when I woke up and found him still next to me, I knew. This wasn't just a late-night spark anymore. This was fire. We started texting every day after that night. Sometimes just dumb stuff, memes, look at this customer who brought in expired coupons from 2012, or updates on what was left in the clearance fridge. Other times it was deeper, voice notes when we were tired, late-night confessions about past relationships, or the things we were scared of saying out loud. It felt easy, like we'd skipped the awkward phase and landed straight in the sweet spot, the part where you know someone's scent by heart, where you look forward to hearing their voice, not just because it sounds good, but because it sounds safe. But easy things, they don't always stay that way. It happened on a Wednesday. I dropped by the store, like usual, not even sure if he was working. I was halfway through the self-checkout when I saw him behind customer service. He looked tense, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, eyes unfocused, and he didn't see me. I thought about walking over, about giving him a smile, maybe a quick, "Hey, I'll text you later." But something stopped me. A woman had walked up to the counter, tall, blonde, maybe his age, maybe older. She leaned in, said something that made him exhale hard through his nose. Then he laughed, not the deep, easy laugh he gave me when I teased him. A different kind of laugh, nervous, forced, and she reached out, touched his arm. It wasn't flirty, but it was familiar. I left before he saw me, left the oat milk, left the receipt hanging out of the machine. Just walked out with that tight feeling in my chest that comes when your brain starts writing stories faster than the truth can catch up. Later that night, he texted like nothing had happened. "Eli, hey, you looked good in that hoodie yesterday. I can still smell you on my jacket. Is that creepy?" I didn't respond, not immediately. I waited, a full hour, then 2. When I finally answered, it was short. "Who was she?" Read. No reply. The dots blinked, disappeared, blinked again. "Eli, someone from before. Nothing happened. She stopped by. That's all." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But the twist in my stomach wouldn't untie itself. I didn't say anything back that night. I turned off my phone, climbed into bed, stared at the ceiling like I was waiting for it to crack open and give me an answer. The next morning, he was at my door. Not with flowers, not with a speech. Just him, hoodie, eyes tired, hands shaking just enough for me to notice. "I shouldn't have hidden it," he said, before I even asked. "We used to hook up. It ended months ago. She shows up sometimes when she wants something, but I should have told you." I stood there, unsure if I wanted to let him in or shut the door. "You could have," I said. "You still can." He nodded slowly. "Then let me." And I did. Not because I didn't have doubts, but because something in his voice sounded like home, even when it was cracked. We didn't kiss right away. We sat, talked, and somewhere between the silence and the forgiveness, I remembered. Real doesn't mean perfect. It means choosing each other, even on the days when it's hard. It had been 2 months. 2 months since the stockroom, since the diner, since the night in my bed, when everything felt like it was starting and ending at the same time. Eli and I had fallen into something real, not flashy or wild, but the kind of real that comes with rhythm, shared routines, familiar silence, Sunday mornings making bad coffee in worse mugs, nights where we didn't need to say much because the weight of his head on my chest was enough. We still joked about how we met. He'd squeeze my waist when we passed the fruit aisle, whisper things like "banana boy" when no one was looking. I'd respond with something equally dumb, and we'd both laugh like we were still in that small back room, adrenaline high, sneaking touches in the dark. But it wasn't about sneaking anymore. He didn't hide me. I didn't keep him a secret. We were just us, somehow found in the most mundane place, between fluorescent lights and discount cereal, but built into something that made everything after feel brighter. One night, we were back at my place. The lights were low, the window open, letting in that early summer breeze that smells like cut grass and late sunsets. We were lying in bed, bodies close, limbs wrapped up like we couldn't tell where mine ended and his began. He kissed my shoulder, slow, thoughtful. "I used to think this wasn't for me," he said softly. "Love, not because I didn't want it, but because I didn't believe it would last." I turned to face him, brushing his hair back gently. "And now?" He looked at me for a long time, then smiled. "Now I think I just hadn't found the right aisle yet." We laughed, that same kind of laugh that started everything. Then he leaned in again, and this time, the kiss was different. It wasn't heated or rushed. It wasn't born from risk or urgency. It was full of peace. A kiss that said, "I'm here." A kiss that felt like home. And that night, when we made love, it wasn't about lust or needing to be hidden away. It was slow, open, honest, the kind of intimacy where everything is visible and nothing is feared, where each touch is permission, every breath is a promise. His hands on my chest, mine on his back, our bodies meeting in waves that didn't crash but rolled, steady, connected, alive. We moved in sync, not for show, but for feeling. And when we finished, breathless and wrapped in each other like we never wanted the morning to come, he said something I hadn't heard from anyone in a long time. "Stay," he whispered. Not because I was leaving, but because I think he needed to hear it from himself. So I said it back. Always. The next day, we went grocery shopping together, just like before. Only this time, we held hands in public, and he kissed me right there in the oat milk aisle.